Hello, everyone, and welcome to Chapter 10 on Final Intonation. In this chapter, you will learn to recognize and use falling intonation, recognize and use rising intonation, and recognize the meaning of rising and falling intonation patterns. For many of you, having already taken 65, you are able to recognize rising and falling intonation. But what we're going to do in this chapter that we didn't do as much last class is look at the 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 understood meaning, the intended meaning of when we use rising and falling intonation. What is the meaning behind that, or the reason behind that? And there are a variety of contexts in which we use rising and falling intonation. And so that's what we're going to talk about in this chapter, is the meaning behind the use. Intonation is the rise and fall in the tune or pitch of voice. It's similar to the rhythm that we create with stressed and unstressed syllables, right? We talked about that in chapter 7 of this particular course. Thought groups are sometimes even referred to as intonation groups because each thought group has what we would refer to as an intonation pattern, this rising and falling pattern. Last chapter, in chapter 9, we talked about how the pitch or the tone of our voice will often jump as we come across a focus word, right? We're not taking a vacation this summer. Vacation. We have syllable stress there, and we have word stress because this is the focus word in the entire sentence. We're not taking a vacation this summer. So we talked about how pitch jumps when we pronounce a focus word. In this chapter, we'll learn what happens when the pitch, what happens after the pitch on a focus word. Does it rise or does it fall? After the focus word, does the intonation, the final intonation, rise or fall? And what's the meaning behind whether or not the final intonation is rising or falling? Here's an example. We're not taking a vacation this summer. Just like this above example here. Falling intonation. We're not taking a vacation this summer. So after that pitch in the focus word, for this particular example, we have falling intonation. And the meaning of that falling intonation that the speaker wants to communicate is that this is a certainty. This person is telling someone, right, what will happen or what they believe will happen. We're not taking a vacation this summer. It's just a statement, right? But take a look what happens when we have rising intonation after that focus word. We're not taking a vacation this summer. We're not taking a vacation this summer. Probably would be a response to that statement, right? If you told your family or your children, we're not taking a vacation this summer, they'd probably respond with rising intonation, saying the same sentence, right? We're not taking a vacation this summer. That's surprise, or maybe even asking someone to inquire about information. Even though there's no simple relationship between intonation and meaning, we can identify and recognize some general patterns and what they typically mean, right? Whether we're making statements or whether we're asking questions. For those of you that work in the service industry, or really in any particular industry where you're engaging with clients and clients are asking you questions or providing you with information, this chapter will be particularly important for comprehension, not only for speaking and conversation, but for you to comprehend this pattern of rising and falling intonation, and then especially with what we call turn taking. May be different in your native language in terms of the expectation of when it's okay to interrupt someone and begin sharing your opinion. There are some patterns that we are able to identify with rising and falling intonation that communicate that a person is done speaking, right? Usually with falling intonation, that's an indication that someone is done and that you're welcome to go ahead and, respond to what they're saying. But if there's rising intonation, like what I'm doing right now, and I'm not done speaking yet, well, if you were to interrupt me in the middle of that, I'd be like, well, wow, I wasn't done yet. And I was communicating to you that I wasn't done because all of my thought groups are ending with rising intonation. So there are some meanings that we can pick up on that correspond with certain patterns of rising and falling intonation. We talked about this in 65, but we're zooming in a little bit closer, looking at particular situations, and I know that you've seen these situations before, or come across them before in your work, or it's at your child's school or at the doctor's office. I know you'll have come across them. So that's the idea, right? Is to become familiar with these situations, to recognize them explicitly, to understand the meaning, and then that way you can engage with more confidence, knowing what the meaning is behind these different features of pronunciation that we've gone over. So let's go ahead and do a few practice exercises. Exercise 1 is similar to what we did in 65. You can listen to CD2 track 75. And for each of these statements, or one-word phrases, indicate whether you think the speaker's voice rises or falls. Now again, when we talk about intonation, we're talking about the tune or pitch of a person's voice. Rising intonation, falling intonation, right? Higher pitch for rising intonation and lower pitch for falling intonation. So do you hear rising or falling intonation for each of these? Let's go ahead and give it a listen. CD2, track 75.
Chapter 10, Exercise 1A, page 93. Tired?
Sad.
Why?
Claudio.
Sick?
Moving.
Where?
Canada.
Let's listen one more time.
Chapter 10, Exercise 1A, page 93. Tired?
Sad.
Why?
Claudio.
Sick?
Moving.
Where?
Canada.
Tired, sad. Why? Claudio. Sick, moving. Where? Canada. Some of these have the pattern of rising, some of these have the pattern of falling. And again, we're going to look in greater detail as to the use and the intended meaning behind the use of rising and falling intonation patterns. Let's do one more together. Exercise. Well, here you can hear that. Let's listen to the entire conversation here. CD2 track 77. and we can hear the entire conversation, and that will give you better indicate. Hopefully, you'll better recognize as you have a more full thought group. You'll be able to pick up on that rising and falling intonation. Let's have a listen to CD2, track 77.
Exercise 1C, page 94. Are you tired today?
Just a little sad.
Why?
Because of Claudio.
Is he sick?
He's moving next week.
Where is he moving?
To Toronto.
So here we have more full thought groups, and you can see the pattern more clearly. Are you tired today? Just a little sad. Why? Because of Claudio. Is he sick? He's moving next week. Where is he moving? Moving. Where is he moving? To Toronto. So we can see the patterns more clearly as we have a full thought group. We're in one more practice. I apologize that this video is running long. One more practice, exercise 2. You have another recording here, CD2, track 78. We're going to listen to the questions and answers. Circle A if it sounds like the speaker has finished speaking, and circle B if it sounds like the speaker will continue. Just on your experience, does it sound like the speaker will continue speaking? Circle A. If it sounds like the if it sounds like the speaker is finished, circle A. If it sounds like the speaker wants to continue speaking, then you'll circle B. Let's give it a listen. CD2, track 78.
Exercise 2A, page 94. 1. What's the matter?
I can't see.
2. What did your teacher do after class?
He passed out. 3. Did you register for biology?
No, I registered for chemistry.
4. What did Dr. Green say?
He said he doesn't like his students.
5. What did you do when you heard the crash?
I turned on the lights. 6. Could you give me your card number, please?
4307 3198 4010.
All right, we're going to listen again together. And so for each of these responses, A would be if you feel like the person is done talking, they're finished. B, for each of these responses, would be if the person is still wanting to continue to speak. And how do you know the difference? How can you tell based upon a pattern? Perhaps there's a general pattern that we can pick up on that indicates to us, conveys the meaning that that person still wants to speak. Is really interesting. These are very subtle differences. We really don't think about them consciously often. It's kind of a subconscious understanding. Maybe perhaps because I'm a native English speaker, I don't think about it consciously. But for those of you learning, these are great patterns, right? To improve your communication, to improve your comprehension, and to improve your conversation skills. Yeah, I really think this is good practice for you. So let's take a look at it one more time. And we'll pause and discuss in between each one.
Exercise 2A, page 94. 1. What's the matter?
I can't see.
I can't see. Where are we? I can't see. I can't see. I can't see. There's a difference there between those two. What's the difference in terms of rising or falling intonation? I can't see. I can't see. I can't see. Maybe she's wanting to continue a little bit. Let's have a listen to number 2.
2. What did your teacher do after class?
He passed out.
What did your teacher do after class? He passed out. He passed out. He passed out. Sounds like me after class. He passed out. So notice the difference between the two. For number 2, we're hearing B. He passed out, and maybe not passed out like fell asleep, but passed out some work, right? Your exam grades. So 2 is B. Let's give number 3 a listen.
3. Did you register for biology?
No, I registered for chemistry.
No, I registered for chemistry. No, I registered for chemistry. Here we hear A. No, I registered for chemistry. Instead of, no, I registered for chemistry, and then some sort of explanation, right? All right, we got 3 more together. And my apologies again, this is a very long video.
4. What did Dr. Green say?
He said he doesn't like his students.
He said he doesn't like his students. He said he doesn't like his students. Or he said he doesn't like his students. Hopefully not letter A, right? Letter B, right? He said he doesn't like his students coming late to class. So here we have falling intonation, full falling intonation. Here it's kind of in between, right? He said he doesn't like his students. We don't have rising, we don't have falling. We're kind of in the middle, right? And as you can tell in these patterns here, when we're in the middle, that means the person's in the middle of talking. That means they're not done speaking yet, right? If the speaker will continue speaking, then they won't have full final falling intonation. They're going to have something what we call partial, right? That's somewhere in the middle. Let's see if you can pick up on it on these last 2. Number 5 here.
5. What did you do when you heard the crash?
I turned on the lights.
I turned on the lights. I turned on the lights. I turned on the lights and ran down the stairs. Instead of, I turned on the lights. We know someone is going to continue speaking when we have what's called partial falling intonation at the end of a thought group. We know that a new thought group will be introduced, right? Anytime we have partial final intonation there. All right, here's a really great example, number 6. I know you've had to do this before in the, on the phone or, when you're buying something. Here's a great example. Last one. Is the person finished, or are they going to give a few more numbers to their card? Here we go.
6. Could you give me your card number, please?
4307 3198 4010.
These are different thought groups, right? Notice how in between these thought groups we have kind of partial intonation. 4307 3198 4010. She's done. Now That's not a full credit card number. Credit card number is 16 digits, but nonetheless, the example they give us is example A, right? 4307 3198 4010 instead of 4307 3198 4010 8238. So we have partial intonation here, but we didn't hear that. We heard a full final falling intonation, so we know that that person is done. So thank you for your patience for listening to this whole video. I apologize again profusely for its length. But what we're looking at in this chapter with intonation, pattern, how we use it, how we use falling intonation, and rising intonation, and most specifically in particular, we're going to look at the meaning. What is the meaning behind having rising and falling intonation? Does it indicate a statement that someone's providing? Is someone asking a question or indicating surprise? Is someone still speaking and they're not quite finished yet? All of these situations we're going to look at in great detail. Thank you so much for your patience. Welcome to Chapter 10 and Final Intonation.